Hello, this is Jessica with On a Stack of Books, and we are going to do books and beads today. And the book is The Clan of the Cave Bear, and I put together a bead kit around this book, and I thought we could make some leather strap bookmarks, maybe some beaded bookmarks, and some bracelets in honor of Ayla. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe some earrings or something, but we're just going to do some fun bead stuff with this kit that I put together. I have these mushrooms and little plants in honor of her being the medicine woman and her mother, Isa, teaching her to be the medicine woman. So we may do some fun things. This is like an arrowhead and just things, some leaves. So we'll work it in to the idea, but of course I have the bear. So here is our bear for Clan of the Cave Bear, and some just very earthy. These are wood, very rock, focal point, agate, mountains, trees, and this little guy I stuck in here because she does get clawed by a cave lion. And this is the closest I could get to a cave lion. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Oh, and then I made this adorable little book charm from some book pages and used a leather strap. So I made this a while ago, and this would be for a beaded bookmark. So let's get started. So this book has been on my shelf for many, many years. When I first read it, I was about 17, 18, somewhere around there, and I absolutely loved it. And I read the whole series and absolutely loved it. So I have been meaning to reread this book for a while and just never could quite find the time, or there were so many other books that I wanted to read. But it always, if people ask me, what was your favorite book, your favorite series, it was always The Clan of the Cave Bear. So I was eager to reread it and see if I still loved it. And I do. I still love it. It's such a great story. I love Ayla. I love how she is and her story and her challenges. I mean, she definitely had a rough time, but I just always thought that she was a badass. And I just loved her. So second time around, of course, I'm reading it with the knowledge of the story, and so the foreshadowing is so much different. This is set prehistoric Europe. It's set during the Pleistocene age, around 35,000 years ago, somewhere around there. So the earth it's the ice age, but there's a lot happening there, natural disaster wise. And so there is an earthquake, and Ayla is this blonde, blue-eyed little girl. Homo sapien, I think, is like, but she's light skinned, light eyes, light hair, something that they've never seen up close. They do know that these other people exist. They call them the others. They are aware of them. But the clan, they live in different areas. They live in caves. That's how they live. They find caves, and so they will move. But they can be, they're not nomadic, but I mean, they would travel if their food changed, or if they had to, something like that. So in their travels, in hunting and in whatever stories passed down, they know that she is part of a group of people called the others. They've just never seen one up close, and maybe not a child also. So they find her because an earthquake happens, and she gets literally separated from her family. the ground breaks, she's scared, she runs, and she, when everything stops, when the earthquake stops, she can't find her family. She can't find anyone. And so it's implied that they basically fell into the earth, or, they're not anywhere around her. So she's scared. She is about 4 years old. It's not specific or really clear, but she's about 4 years old. And so she just sort of doesn't know what to do, but she starts to over time get hungry, thirsty. She's looking for her family. She's calling to them. And she ends up being hiding from animals, and she kind of wedges herself in between this rock ledge area. She's a small child, so she can get in there because there are cave lions, and they're trying to get to her, and the one can reach in and just scratch her thigh. So she's got 4 claw marks across her leg, and so of course that's a big injury. And they stay thinking that she's going to come out eventually. And I don't remember exactly how many days pass, but if it's a couple of days or whatever. But she finally stumbles out because she's so thirsty, and there is a little bit of water nearby. But she basically makes it to the little edge of the water, drinks, and then just, passes out from exhaustion or thirst or dehydration or whatever. And the clan of the cave bear, the clan is traveling also because of this earthquake. They have been displaced. They have lost their home. Their cave was destroyed in the earthquake. And as they're walking, they stumble upon this child, and at first they think she's dead. And the medicine woman, Isa, she goes over and looks at her, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's alive, but she's barely alive. So she asks the leader of their clan, Browd. Yeah, Browd. Not Brun. Brun is his son. Browd. If she can pick this child up and take her with them. And he doesn't really want her to. He's not really sure. It's, they don't like to do anything that is different. And so he's kind of, but she's like, if we leave her here, she is definitely going to die. So he does let her. And as the story goes on, you do find out that Isa, the medicine woman, is actually Browd's sister. And so, he likes her. It's his sister, and she's the medicine woman, and for whatever reason he lets her take the child. So the story is Ayla's life, and of course it's a hard life because she gets picked up by this clan, and because she's different, they don't trust her, they're not really sure, and all of the trials of that. She's just trying to survive. She's a fighter. She will try anything, and she is young and she's curious. So Isa, the medicine woman, nurses her back to health. Does not let the wounds get infected, feeds her, and she becomes well, and she becomes strong and curious. And this young child that is with these people, her other brother is it's called a mogre in their clan. His name is Kreb, and he is sort of like the magician, or the medicine man that does the rituals for all the men when they would pray or meditate or speak to are the cave bears. So they've got like bones from bears, cave bears, and things like that. Well, he is a heavily deformed defect. His arm never fully developed, and I think his one leg never fully developed, and his face, there's something where the eye, there's like, I think, a flap over his eye. And so there's a deformity on his face, that most of the clan, especially the children, they're afraid of him. He looks different, maybe, foreboding, and he's magical, he's mystical. And so there's that. They're just sort of afraid of him. Well, Ayla, and so he's never had a mate, he's never had children, he's never lived fully as a man of the clan. And so Ayla comes around, and when she's better, she is curious about him, and she's not afraid of him, and she becomes affectionate with him, and she's just like, these are my people now, and she doesn't know anything else. She's scared. She's just happy to be alive. She's happy that they're feeding her, and being nice to her. And so she bonds with Isa and Kreb, and they become her family, and that's a huge part of the story. And so they're very loving and understanding with her, but the clan is so different for Ayla that it's really difficult for her to fit in. It's really difficult for her to be a good clan woman because she's not. They go based on it's not even instinct, it's memories. So the medicine woman, whatever child she has, she would say to this child or show this child one time something like, this plant is good for this, and that would unlock a memory in the child, and that child would then know and not have to be reminded, and would just be like, okay, now I know that. That's right. I now remember that I knew that. So all of the clan's memories and what they know is in all of their brains. And so the children learn quickly because they're just being reminded one time. And of course, Ayla is not like that. And so she, at first they're kind of like, maybe she's stupid. Like maybe there's something wrong with her. Like, why would we have to explain this? The other big, big, big thing is that the clan communicate primarily with gestures, what they call gestures, but it's sign language. They do grunt, they do vocalize some things, but their primary form of communication is with gestures. And so in the beginning, when she first is feeling better and she's recovered and she's moving around and she's kind of watching everybody, but she's sticking very, very close to Isa and Kreb. She's not really interacting with the rest of the clan yet. She's talking, and she's talking to them, and she's trying to communicate, and she's getting frustrated. They're getting frustrated. She's not quite sure what's going on, but she's talking to them. And so to them, they're just like, she's making all this noise, and she's clearly communicating, but they have no idea what she's saying. They can't even reproduce the sounds that she's making. So the breakthrough is when Kreb touches his chest and says Kreb, and then touches her chest, and they realize, okay, your name is this, her name is that, and there's a hint of, we can communicate. It's still very, very minimal. And but it was probably a couple of days to a couple of weeks where he's trying with her, and he finally shows her, because she's picking up the words, the vocalization that they have, she's picking up all and anything that he can give her. I mean, she's a sponge. She's a little kid, and she's desperate to communicate with them. And so anything that she can get, she does, and she learns. But she knows that she's missing something because they're all interacting, and she's like, they're barely saying anything. What am I missing? So finally it clicks that this grunt, this sound with this gesture means something. And as soon as that clicks in her mind, it's like the floodgates open, and she realizes, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing. Because the whole time she saw the gestures, but she didn't put it together that that was a big part of their communication. So once that happens, of course, she makes up for lost time very, very quickly, and she learns how to communicate with everybody very, very quickly. Now, in the beginning, she was like 4 years old. As time passes, and the clan is looking, for a new home, for a cave, and they get this cave, and they move, and all the stuff that's happening. It's about 6 years old, so about 2 years into this. Now they're like, you're not a child anymore, and so any of her strange behavior, like laughing or swinging her arms when she walks or walking straight up, like at her full height, which she's pretty tall by their standards, so they can't tell how old she is. She's not acting like a good clan woman. And so by about 6 years old, they're just like, yeah, like this behavior is not going to be tolerated anymore. We're not going to treat you like, you're a small child, and oh, it's okay. Because they use sign language, there was certain customs where, and they all live so close together, that staring was very rude. It was a big thing. You should not be watching someone else's conversations, which oddly enough, that is also true in the ASL community for sign language, because you're like eavesdropping. But so she starts to have very rough interactions with the other members of the clan, specifically one boy, who really doesn't like her. And and she's just, she's trying, but she really doesn't understand, and she's trying not to upset anyone. She's trying to fit in. The women in the clan are completely subservient to the men. The men tell them what to do. The women have to ask, even just to talk to them. They have to kneel at their feet and wait to be tapped on the shoulder to communicate with the men. And so the men don't like that, as Ayla grows, she's as tall as them and then gets taller than them. And so they don't like this. So she is doing things that are very normal by our standards of a child, and being curious or anything like that, but they're just like, absolutely not. It's very offensive. It's very rude. What is wrong with her? Kind of thing. So she runs into lots of miscommunications, or not even miscommunications. It's just she's just struggling to fit in. So her time with the clan is rough. I mean, she definitely has a hard time, but she is loved and feels loved by Isa and Kreb, and so you do have that sort of buffering the hard times that she's having with the other clan members. And then Isa, the medicine woman, when she picked her up, when they originally found her, she was pregnant at the time, Isa was. And so she, of course, gives birth to her daughter. Well, Ayla helps her, as a sister would, and they are very close. And then Ayla also quickly learns, just not as quick as the clan members do, she quickly learns all of the what a medicine woman does, and what plants do what, and how to collect them, and how to preserve and keep things in stock and take care of the clan, because that's their job. So her adopted mother, Isa, is training her to be a medicine woman, and so she loves that. Part of the job of the medicine woman is to collect plants and collect, the medicine. And so it's roots and plants and flowers and things like that. And so she has, and Isa is older. And so this job falls to Ayla, and it's wonderful for her because she actually really loves to go off and just explore and be by herself, because she's under a lot of scrutiny. She's under a lot of pressure to conform and be a good clan girl, clan woman, and it's just really hard for her. It's not natural. And so she loves to go off just about daily, looking for plants and looking for, um, the roots and everything that she needs to do. But along the way, she's also just kind of taking a breath, and skipping and laughing and swinging her arms and, and kind of doing whatever she wants. The women are not allowed to touch hunting tools or weapons. And so, there's just a lot of restrictions. The clan women don't see it as restrictions. They are really fine with their place and what they do and what they can't do, because they all work together, and this is their community, and this is what they know, and this is how they live. And so for them, it's a matter of survival. The clan women do not want to go off and go hiking by themselves because they're fearful of animals. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to defend themselves. That's the men's job. So, the women would go together if they were going to collect things or anything like that. But Ayla prefers to be by herself. Another odd thing to them. So in her oddities, like, she knows how to swim. They don't know how to swim. They're very dense and they're very muscular and shorter stature, and so they don't know how to stand, or they don't know how to float in the water. They don't know how to swim. They do go into the water to fish, but they would never even think of swimming. And so, of course, she jumps in the water and starts swimming, and they're just like, it's so bizarre. She's so weird. One of the kids, the clan children, does get into water that's a little too deep and starts to drown. She saves this child. And it's very difficult for her because she's also a child herself. But she ends up saving this child. And so, of course, they are extremely happy, and they start to see her differences as that she brings luck to the clan. And so they do start to recognize that she is so different from us. We don't understand her. She's weird, but the things that are different about her are her strengths. And so the majority of the clan, they see her, they sort of, their internal thought, it's like they pity, like, oh, she's so ugly, look at her, she's just, this, her face, and she's very lean, and she doesn't have a womanly figure and all this kind of stuff, because they can't judge her age. So it's funny. But they, of course, are super appreciative that she saved this child. And so she earned some brownie points with that. And Brun is the leader. That's Isa's brother. He has a son, Browd. And Browd absolutely hates Ayla. Um, they are close in age. Not real. Well, he's older, but he's only older by a little bit. And he doesn't like her because she's different. But he also doesn't like her because she comes into the clan, and when she joins with them, this is during the time that he's transitioning from being a child to a man. And so it's very, very significant. And, he has to go on his first hunt, and his first hunt is when he becomes a man. And his first hunt is very successful, killing a woolly mammoth. And nobody dies. None of the men die during the hunt, which is, good. Because it's definitely like something that they expect, and they definitely, that happens a lot. So during the time that he should, in his mind, he should be getting all the praise, and everybody should be showering him with, all this attention, because he's a man now, and he successfully hunted and killed this. He did the first kill, and it was supposed to be all about him. Everybody is paying attention to her. And during the same ceremony that he becomes a man, she gets her totems. It's a totem ceremony. It's when Kreb, the mogre, he prays and he says, okay, this is what her totem is. Now, for them, their totem is their spirit animal, and the spirit animal is very important because the women, their spirit animal cannot be stronger than a man's spirit animal because they believe that that is how a woman gets pregnant, is that her spirit animal battles with the man's spirit animal that she is in physical proximity to. Not sex, but like they share a hearth, they're a mate, they're near each other, they spend a lot of time near each other, they sleep next to each other. Not sex. They think that her spirit animal totem and his battle on the spirit realm, and when hers loses, she becomes pregnant. So it's really, really important that you know what totem you have and all this kind of stuff. Well, Ayla is getting, so Kreb is giving her totem at this same ceremony because they'll kind of combine things if there's more than one thing going on. Well, her totem is the cave lion, and the clan is shocked and just really dismayed because the cave lion is a male totem. And they're like, how is she, what? Like, she's a woman. How can she have a male totem? She's never going to have a baby. She's never going to get pregnant. What is happening? They don't think it's right. They don't like that she has a male totem. And his explanation is that, you know, look at her leg. She was marked. She was like, this is, she's not one of us. She's not clan. She is from the others. And they marked her. Now, the leg that they'll take some red ochre and some different things, and he creates like a dye, an ink stain. It's not permanent, but they'll take the totem and put it on the body. Well, they put it on, and I don't remember if it's always the leg, if it's always the same spot on the body, but they put it on the leg, and there is like a male female leg, and like he puts it for the women, he always puts it on the one side. Well, where she got clawed by the cat, it's the male side of the leg. And so he explains this to the clan, like, you know, I've prayed about this, and it makes sense. Like, it's already there. So he just puts the mark over her scars and is like, you know, that's her totem, that's her spirit animal. And so everybody's a little, you know, it's kind of shocking, and everybody's talking about it. And Browd is pissed. He's pissed because the attention is not on him. They're talking about her, and he doesn't like this. And he's, you know, she ruined this for him. She took away his attention. She took away his moment to shine, and he's just not happy about it. So that is really like the first straw. And then he just never lets it go, you know? And so once he becomes a man, any man in the clan, whatever his needs are, if he needs a drink of water, if he needs you to fetch something for him, if he needs you to do anything, any woman that is within the vicinity of him, he can request and he can tell her and she can do it. Now, out of respect and sort of like, you know, it's just sort of like an unwritten thing. Like they usually will stay within their own, they have hearths, so they have like their parents or their mate. And usually like if they're mated to another woman, then usually that's the one that they would go to. But if, like, say they're on a hunting trip or their mate is gone or something's happening, it's not out of the question, and it's completely fine that they would ask another woman, and they're not asking, command another woman to get something for them or do something for them, and the woman will comply, no question. Now, this also goes for relieving their needs. So again, if it's always the men's needs. It's always that they will have needs to have sex, and the woman will satisfy those needs. They do talk about flirting. The women of the clan will flirt and maybe entice their mate or entice someone to give them the command, because it's a hand signal that they're supposed to get into a certain position, and that's their norm. As Browd is now a man, he is flexing this new ability and having his mother and anyone in his hearth, get me a drink of water, get me this, get me that. And really enjoying this new status that he has. And so you can imagine at first, it's sort of like, okay, they're like, okay, you're a man now, and they're proud of this because that's their, the women, they grow up and they have their, so it's fine among the clan women. But even with the clan women, he does push his luck, and he does get on their nerves because he's just doing it to do it, and he's just annoying them. And so you can imagine what he does to Ayla. He runs her ragged, and she's young, so at first she's doing it, but then she becomes like, okay, you're obnoxious, and she starts to, her body language, she's letting him know, like, I'm doing this, but I don't want to do it. Or she'll go slow. And so it is also within the men's rights to cuff or hit the woman if she doesn't move fast enough. And so he does this. And she will move a little bit faster because she doesn't want that to happen. Well, one time he tells her to get something, and she locks eyes with him, which is another, like, they don't really, it's not that they're not allowed to have eye contact, but during something like this transaction of, I need you to go get something, I equate it to when you tell your child to do something and they just turn and look at you, and it's that look of like, I don't want to. And they get up slowly and they maintain that eye contact with you to let you know that they are very unhappy about doing it, but you're in charge, and so they're doing it anyway. Well, she does this to Browd, and she does it in front of everybody. And so everyone is like, oh, oh my God. And he just about beats her to death. And the leader of the clan has to pull him off. And nobody can understand why he acts this way. They can't understand why he would get so upset by her. They can see what's happening between them, and they realize, like, okay, like she's definitely instigating some of this. Like she's she's doing some stuff on purpose. But they also don't understand why he doesn't, why he really rides her the way that he does. So the leader of the clan lets him know and has a conversation and just says, like, look, if you're going to be, it's his son. And he's like, if you're going to be leader someday, you have to have better self-control. You cannot do this. And so you need to work on your self-control, and you need to show me that you can be a good leader. And from this conversation, Browd is a little concerned that, he has messed up and he doesn't understand why, but he's fearful that he's, maybe not going to be leader. So then he leaves her alone for a while, and she heals. She's pretty beat up, pretty bad. And she heals, and everybody picks up on the fact that he's intentionally leaving her alone, and he's not doing what he used to do. Well, she picks up on the fact that he's not doing anything, and so she gets a false sense of protection. She feels like, oh, I can kind of do what I want. So then you go through, which just shows her age. It just shows that, she doesn't belong with the clan. It's not in her nature to act this way, to be so subservient and not communicate fully with the men. She's just, kind of doing what she's told, and she's just trying to stay out of trouble. But at the same time, she doesn't like him either. And so she goads him for a while, and really, like, she'll ignore him sometimes, or she'll just stare at him and kind of, like, she's letting him know that she knows that basically he got in trouble and he's supposed to leave her alone, which of course just pisses him off. So time goes by, and I mean, I'm giving so much of the story away. I'm telling so much of the story, but this is not a new book. This is definitely around, and I will say at the beginning that this has a lot of spoilers, and if you've never read the book, definitely read the book before you watch this. So it gets worse from there. So I'm going to leave that part of it alone. It gets worse from there before it gets better. I think you can imagine. But despite all of this, she still prevails. She still succeeds, loves, and she is loved, and she ends up her way, and in his way, she shows him up. And everybody can see it. It's it's very, very obvious. So the first book is her time with the clan. It's her life. It's her survival and everything. I love the medicine woman side of it, her mother and her, and what they can do and how they learn. She learns how to heal and take care of the clan and take care of herself. I love the sign language aspect of it. I loved how they lived, and it was just very interesting, the time period and everything. Whether it's completely factual or not, you just enjoy the story. As much as I have told you, I have left a lot out. I love this story. I love the book. I love the whole series. I will reread the whole series, but I strongly recommend. It blows away their expectations. She far exceeds anything that anyone thought that she could do. That's one of the things that I loved about her. I love just her capacity to love and to learn and to try and to not be afraid. There was definitely some things in the story that I could relate to, but there was a lot of things that I couldn't relate to, as far as her, but you still are cheering for her. You're still rooting her on. And all the people and the relationships that she creates, and the things that she overcomes, and what she discovers about herself and what she's capable of. And that helps her to keep going, because this is just the beginning of her story, just the beginning. So it's amazing and wonderful, and I highly recommend it. I can't say that enough. Definitely love this book. So this was my book review. There are some triggers in it. There are some things that people may be uncomfortable with, wouldn't like. So I hope you enjoyed the bead crafts that I made, and I hope you enjoyed my version of the book review. So let me know if you've read this book, what you thought. Until next time, I'll be reading.